Hello, crypto people. My name is Joey. I'm part of the Chart Guys team. Been a full-time trader and technical analyst for 7 years. Here to talk about some crypto. We've got alts starting to get some weekly higher lows set, and we know how the crypto space likes to work with alts leading the way. So that increases the odds that Bitcoin is going to do the same. Doesn't mean that Bitcoin isn't still range bound, but this brings up some questions. Is this the start of an alt season? Is Bitcoin going to new all-time highs? Obviously, none of us know those answers, but we'll go through on this stream what I'm going to be looking at in terms of figuring out how I'm going to determine those answers. So let's get on into the charts and see what we are working with. So starting off with Bitcoin here, we know bigger picture, as long as bulls are holding monthly 12 EMA, they are in full control. We know that the Fed has a 100% chance of a rate cut next Wednesday on September 18th. We know that typically when the Fed cuts rates, it leads to a bear market in the broad market. So we have to be aware that that's happening. I don't talk fundamental stuff too often, but that's a pretty high probability fundamental event. And if that were to happen, that would likely spell trouble for Bitcoin and 6-month consolidation. So keep that on the back of your head. But if we're just looking at the charts now, Bitcoin looks great. Many alts were smoked 80% off of the highs and are now trying to set up weekly trend changes. Some of them have got those weekly trend changes. So we'll stick with the charts. We'll look out for red flags if something was going to change, if we were going to get a bear market. And we can just say, simply, as we've been saying for a long time, as long as monthly 12 EMA is support on Bitcoin, everything is fine. So zooming into the weekly, we're still just sideways here. Weekly inside bar, bulls would need to break 59.8K to follow the alts in getting a weekly higher low set. Then we would have to be cautious of the potential of a weekly lower high compared to 65K. So if we're looking at this on Bitcoin, we'll look through some of the alts real quick, and I've redone our watch list here. So I've got a category for weekly higher low set, and you can see that's a lot of names in there. And then no weekly higher low set, very few names, and then weekly uptrend confirmed, a handful of names there. And we got our DEX coins, memes, and then these guys at the bottom are kind of just doing their own thing, a little bit of a different structure, falling wedge for TIA and WLD, I think. Yeah, falling wedges there. Atom, not so much a falling wedge. But yeah, let's click through some of these names getting the weekly higher low set. You'll just see there's varying degrees of how these look. Some have the full-blown inverse head and shoulders here, like TAO, and some are the neckline would be a little bit further out, and it's more of just a weekly downtrend with a higher low being set. But pretty similar structure around a lot of these coins at this point, and we know that the alts lead the way very often in the crypto space. So as more of these names get their weekly higher low set, going to be looking for the same on Bitcoin. And then if more names confirm weekly uptrends, like FET is positioned well to do that soon. TAO is not positioned as well. There are similar charts with the inverse head and shoulders, but just going to be watching and knowing that everything that these alts do shifts odds for everybody else. FTM, another one of the inverse head and shoulders on the weekly, looking poised to go. So that's what we've got going on in the space right now. And then that brings up the question, okay, if alts are starting to lead the way, is this the beginning of the alt season that everybody is looking for? Again, don't forget about the Fed pivot, but in a bubble, in Bitcoin's normal cycle, yeah, people are looking for an alt season. We are not going to get an alt season if BTC dominance does not take out 2-week 12 EMA. Been saying the same thing for months, and that just remains the case. So we got weekly or 2-week inside bars here, and we're still just up at the highs. So Bitcoin is still the dominant name in the space, though we're starting to see a minor shift. But even if we were to see these weekly uptrends confirm in alts and Bitcoin dominance drop, we still have a lot of room to the 2-week 12 EMA. So alts would have to really cover some serious ground, pretty much with Bitcoin likely just staying sideways at the highs, which is what crypto bulls want to see. That's kind of how the cycles go. Bitcoin leads the way, goes sideways, healthy sideways consolidation. Alts play catch up. So the framework is there for that potential, and we will be keeping an eye out for it. So to get back into Bitcoin and talk some more nitty gritty about what we've got on the techs, we got a little dinky daily uptrend, but we have to be cautious of the potential of a 2-day lower high. Ultimately, this is one of those scenarios where, okay, you've got your daily uptrend, that means weekly higher low set, right? Well, it only increases the odds that a weekly higher low is set. For the weekly higher low to be set, you got to break the high of the previous weekly candle. So when we're still within an inside bar on the weekly, we got to be a little cautious of shorter time frame techs. So in the shorter term, we've got 4-hour 12 EMA support. If that's lost, that would be the first sign of a 2-day lower high potentially shaping on up. You could say this is getting a little rising wedgie. We'll actually use the marker. Could say it's getting a little rising wedgie there, but as long as 4-hour higher lows continue to form, then bulls are fine. And it's also certainly worth noting that the broad market has seen quite the move off of the lows here at this point. ES looking to test weekly resistance, NQ a little bit further away, but still beastly moves off of the lows. And the question will be, do we get weekly equilibriums in the broad market leading into the election? Which that's what we got in 2020. If we go back here, this is the S&P 500 futures into the November 2020 election. And we can see how the framework could be there for something kind of similar here this year with the election in under 2 months at this point. So if the broad market continues to tighten, then that'll further increase the odds that Bitcoin continues to tighten. So let's move on to ETH. Also still just a weekly inside bar and still just battling daily 12 EMA. We have relative weakness here compared to peers. Bulls got to get over daily 12 EMA to try to shape up a weekly bounce. And then we'd be looking for a weekly lower high. Good deal of space for one below 28.20. And it's just going to continue to be the ETH BTC show. ETH USD will remain relatively weak compared to peers as long as ETH BTC is rejecting from daily 12 EMA. So we're down here testing the lowest levels in quite some time, and ETH is still just in the doghouse. Let's see, LTC, just viewing this as a tightening range. It's not a perfectly clear tightening range, but we're battling weekly 12 EMA, and unless we break 68.53 or 59.03, nothing's really changing here. And like most names, the ratio charts are going to guide the way. So still weekly 12 EMA resistance on LTC BTC. That's got to change if LTC USD is going to come onto the map. So as far as alts that I'm looking at the FET. Where'd you go, FET? Or we'll start with TAO. Basically these inverse head and shoulders on the weeklies. So TAO, still a good bit from resistance, but that's got my attention. FET testing resistance with its weekly inverse head and shoulders, that has my attention, especially since FET is coming off of all-time highs. And if we were to get, say the Fed pivot doesn't lead to a bear market, everything stays strong, and we continue to just crush bears as is tradition for a long time, then eyes are going to be back on names within proximity of all-time highs. And obviously we're still far away on FET, 160%. But we know that in a euphoric market, that really is nothing. So like something like FET has my attention more than something like Phil, despite the weekly charts being decently similar, and that's purely because of proximity to blue skies. So FTM has got my attention. That's very similar to FET here. Look at that weekly inverse head and shoulders. We're testing resistance. Let's go back to FET. Where'd you go? Almost identical chart. So charts that look like that have my attention. And if the space stays strong, then we can be looking for laggards, of course. And right now, as far as laggards, we're looking at these guys that don't have their weekly higher low set. We got Sol. I thought XRP had it. That's not supposed to be there. Get up with your friends. So we got Sol, we got Ox, we have got APT, ASTR, TRB, and TRX kind of doing its own thing. TRX, that's a name, actually, you got to get out of here. We'll put you up in the blue sky category. TRX has had relative strength compared to everybody for a long time. So bulls are looking for a weekly higher low there. Let's zoom in on things. So basically would need to regain a daily uptrend from here to get a weekly higher low set. And we're double top with all-time highs. So definitely paying attention to that. Let's look into Sol. What's the deal with Sol? We got the ETF kind of teaser, and then Sol's just been sideways, hasn't been doing anything since then. So it's a weekly inside bar. We're looking for a weekly higher low. Bulls got to break 138.13 to get that higher low set. And Sol bulls are pleased that they didn't take the 80% drawdown that a name like FET took. I think FET was just straight up 80% off the top. Why can I never find it in here? Yeah, 79.83% off the top. So Sol bulls are pleased that that didn't happen. But now it's kind of like, all right, these names that got smoked are going to play some catch up. And it's looking like names that had been holding on better are kind of just having tame action at this point. So that's Sol. You don't want to overtrade within the tightening range. I would imagine we're going to get some more ETF updates sometime. I thought we would have gotten some by now, but got to keep that on the back of the head. And really, once this range breaks, opportunity will be a lot clearer on Sol. So personally, just going to kind of wait for that. But got bulls, need to get the daily uptrend. Got this double top here at 138.13, 138 clean. Got to get over that to get the weekly bounce, and then we look for that weekly lower high. Can always be looking for clues from the ratio chart, and that's not what bulls want to see. Though, if Sol BTC were to set a 2-day higher low, then Sol USD would actually be positioned to see a nice little move up for that weekly lower high. So keep an eyes on who does what. Let's check in on the memes. Do they have weekly higher low set? So Pepe does not. Doge does. Doge not too far from a weekly uptrend. SHIB just now got it. WIF has got it. A little bit of a funky chart. And Bonk does not have it. Turbo does have it. So Turbo's starting to get tight. Volatility is going to come there soon. And we got Pepe weaker. Doge the strongest out of the bunch on the weekly chart at this point, just talking the last few weeks. And that is that. Still going to be keeping eyes on this TIA. Big old falling wedge on the weekly, but right now still just got relative weakness. Got to confirm the daily uptrend to get the weekly bounce underway. Then we'd look for a lower high. Be watching that downtrending resistance line to potentially act as such. All right, that's all I've got really at this point. Let's hop into chat, see what y'all got going on. I figured it'd be a pretty quiet stream here, doing the 11:15 a.m. on a Friday. Don't expect to get a lot of people, but chat's popping. Only 48 people in here, but chat's popping. Jahan Zeed, it's been a while, dude. Glad to see you. Glad to see you, and I love you too, my friend. Crown Bell, Ola, Papa, Jared, or how's that? Jawed? Hi. Hello to everybody. Let's take a look at Jasmine. Jasmine is in our weekly higher low set crew, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, weekly higher low set. So we're looking for a monthly higher low. And anything over this 1526 would be one. Current lows of consolidation is 1578, so bull's doing a decent job trying to defend that, but got to regain a weekly uptrend if we want to get that monthly higher low set. So due to the depth of this pullback, I would anticipate a lower high compared to 2440 unless we start to see more coins confirm the weekly uptrends, which I never actually went through that spot on the watch list. So coins that confirm the weekly uptrends. We got Ape, weekly uptrend confirmed, no follow through at this point, but Pendle just got it this morning. ICP's got it. AAV has got it. AAVE has got it, excuse me. A bit of a different structure here from everybody else, but still's got it, and GMT has now got it. So if names from this portion of the list, the weekly higher low set crew, start to go into the weekly uptrend crew, then that's when we'll look at something like Jasmine to potentially follow and not be such sticklers about our retracement rules. But what we can say is that the odds of something like FTM confirming the weekly uptrend are much greater than something like Jasmine, just because Jasmine has so much further to go, 20% from current prices. So if we do reject from that, we'll have a nice weekly tightening range that then if that breaks bull, that's a monthly higher low set. If it breaks bear, then that's like 6-month consolidation. No, what would it be? Quarterly? Yeah, that would just be quarterly consolidation taking place if we were to lose that monthly higher low. So like everybody else, just got to get the daily uptrend. So a little dinky daily higher low set at 1914. Got to break 2085 to get that weekly, or to have confidence in weekly bounce continuation. That's what I meant to say, not higher low set. Higher low has been set. All right. Let's see, RXR. I'm liking that. I'm liking FTM and FTM, and who was the other one really close? Is it FET? Yeah, FTM and FET, the names with the clear weekly inverse head and shoulders that have relative strength right now that are bumping up against the resistance. The question was what alts are looking best to me right now. Let's see, Ryan B. Don't say alt season. It's the first time I've said it in a while because I'm in the camp that a bear market is coming. That's how I'm positioning in my personal accounts in the broad market. I've gotten rid of all my swings, and maybe I'm a sucker and the bulls are just going to continue forever. That could obviously happen, but I don't think we're going to get an alt season right now in the crypto space, but it's the first time in a while that alts have showed relative strength compared to Bitcoin, though Bitcoin dominance isn't showing it much, and I reckon that's because ETH BTC is so weak and it has so much market cap. But I was a little surprised this morning to see that we're still marching up on Bitcoin dominance. So still just going to treat this as a sideways range. And if we break bear, that's the 2-week consolidation. If we break bull, then dominance continues in Bitcoin's favor. But yeah, I personally don't think we're going to get an alt season, but I don't put much weight into what I think. I just go with probabilities and then make plans for multiple scenarios. Like I've got a plan if we see a bear market on the Fed pivot. I've got a plan if monthly 12 EMA continues to hold on everything and we just march through blue skies everywhere. So what we think doesn't really matter. You got to think like a little bit, but you don't have to. You can just usually get away with rubbing a few brain cells together and trying to not be smart. When you get too smart, it just doesn't work in the markets. Let's see, 93 Mischief. Should we always be hedging or only when fundamental events like rate cuts are around? That's going to be different from each person and what your objectives are. Like there's some old money folks that they don't hedge any of the downturns. They just know that they're going to have to ride them and they wait. And then lo and behold, the markets always go up. If you're a more active trader, hedging is definitely part of the game if you want to maximize gains. Dan is often hedging out through weekly consolidation and has been over the last 2 years. I tend to just sell my positions and rebuy versus hedging because I'm rarely holding anything beyond the 1 year long-term capital gains cutoff anyway, so I don't mind just buying and reselling, and I'm not operating out of an IRA. So as far as right now, should anybody be hedging? If Bitcoin gets this weekly bounce underway, just as we talked up here, we pretty much always have the hedge talk. Actually, now that I think about it, the hedge talks have been pretty on point. But yeah, if we get this weekly bounce underway, which bulls are pushing for it right now, 59,809 is the level. If we get that, then bears that want to be protected, potentially hedge out, are going to be looking to play off a 65K. And again, I said this last stream, if we were to just V-shape through 65K, I still would be doubtful that we would break above 70.1K. So we know that when we're in the sideways range, things can get choppy, things can get unclear, and we need to not be surprised by that. So you can be looking to play off of 65K, but when things are choppy and have the potential to be choppy, oftentimes what's best to do is wait for bears to prove something. So if we're playing off of 65K, looking to short, looking to hedge, whatever, doesn't matter. Instead of like scaling in with a stop above 65K, that's always something you can do, but it doesn't work as well in a sideways range. What you typically want to do, you can definitely do that technique, but you don't want necessarily like a hard stop at a clear level that could be popped for liquidity. So if I was wanting to do that, I'd find something else technically to base my stop off of. Where do you want to use like this channel upper band or like this value area low, and you wanted to like scale in? I'd do something like that with like a stop up here or something. You want to be loose. If you're playing a balance range and just like dinking it back and forth, you want to be loose with your stops because we know to anticipate a lack of clarity. So that's one way you can go about it, but the way I typically like to do it is wait for bears to prove something. So we got a 4-hour 12 EMA, say we ride it on up. and we do that, and then 4-hour 12 EMAs lost, that's when I'm then fishing that lower high and putting my stop over that, looking for the downtrend and continuation there. That's my preferred technique. And what that protects you against is, say, that line continues up. Say we go up like this and we break 65K and then we dump and then do that. It allows you to not be so dependent on hard levels, because typically in the markets, I mean, we use the hard levels for signals, but we want to treat support and resistance more like membranes than like a cut and dry hard level. So yeah, that's that regarding hedging. Let's see, what do I think of ADA? Let's see. I think, before we get into this, I think ADA has a good chance of being on the map, bigger picture, if ADA BTC shapes up a yearly higher low. This is the most important thing to me on ADA right now. We have this big yearly equilibrium on ADA BTC, and we're coming down to support. And if this is to do something like that, then we'll have like a year or two of ADA being cool again. But as far as ADA USDT, it's similar structure to many other names right now, where we're smoked off of our recent tops, 65%, and we got weekly 12 EMA resistance. We got to watch out for a weekly lower high because of the depth of this retrace. It's going to be the same thing that we talked about with Jasmine, except yeah, it's going to be the same thing we're talking about with Jasmine, but structurally we're not as strong, I don't believe. Yeah, much deeper monthly pullback. But all about the weekly uptrend. So looking at key resistance of 40.14, if we're not up and over that, then bears maintain their control. And that's that. That is that. Take a quick look into some miners, because we haven't done that in a minute, and then I'm gonna wrap it up. Oops. So ultimately, Mara is still just sideways. We did get our 6-month lower high set in EQ, but not much follow through at this point. Got a weekly downtrend confirmed without follow through, now into a weekly bounce. That could be the first sign that a monthly bounce is getting underway. And if this was a monthly downtrend confirmed without follow through, then that would have us looking for the potential of a 6-month bull flag. So that's what we got going on there for Mara. Daily stair step straight off the low. That's the guide. Swing trading bulls looking for a daily higher low next consolidation. Riot remains weaker. It got more follow through on the weekly downtrend, a lot more follow through. A lot more follow through on its 6-month EQ that we had been watching out for. And now we're looking for a 6-month higher low, but you're going to want to see the Riot-Mara ratio come to life if that's going to happen. So we just got a weekly downtrend here and have for a long time. Not a long time, but a handful of months. So that's going to need to turn around for Riot to try to shape up a 6-month higher low in any notable fashion, in my opinion. But for now, not a ton of interest as long as we're in a weekly downtrend. And we have relative weakness, and then CLSK, daily tighten range, bear break, big time follow through, weekly downtrend confirmed. Not a ton of follow through. I mean, percentage wise, it's good, but to be back above support the next week, not the greatest look. We are looking for a quarterly higher low. Are we now? Now we still haven't got our 6-month lower high set within EQ, but we can say we're looking for a quarterly higher low. You could even call it a quarterly EQ if you wanted. But that is that. Let's see, RXR, I think BTC could moon on a 50 BPS cut. And today odds went up a lot because of Wall Street Journal article. Yeah, let me check and see. It's actually kind of wild because on the FOMC day, we were at 85% for 25 basis point, 15% for 50 basis point. And yeah, we're almost 50-50 now, I think. We'll just pull this puppy up. So CME Group has the Fed Watch tool. Yeah, we're 57.43 for 25 to 50, which is easily the widest split we've had since COVID going in. We'll see where we end up going, on Wednesday. before it drops. But at this point, pretty close to a coin toss. Pretty close to a coin toss. But yeah, a lot of people it's basically the Bitcoin maxi narrative is that like Bitcoin will do well in that environment. So we'll see. I pretty much view Bitcoin as like an extension of the tech sector, kind of. So I don't think that it will fully diverge, but gosh dang, I would love if it does. And if it does, it'll be clear as day. If we've got the NASDAQ confirming a weekly downtrend while Bitcoin's confirming a monthly bull flag, we'll say, all right, the maxis were right. And we'll trust it and treat it accordingly. But I mean, yeah, we'll see. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. We're in uncharted territory for everybody. So we'll track it and try to keep objective metrics on everything so that we can have decent odds of like diagnosing what's going on from an unbiased fashion. Yeah, Ryan, I agree. It was, I guess we can pull it back up. I just closed it. We can see, they show the previous percentages here. So yesterday we had 72 and 28. On Wednesday we had the 85, 15. And then a month ago we were at our similar near 50-50. So it's definitely a little skittish. And I forget the exact metrics that this is based on, but this isn't like some guy sitting at a desk like saying like, I don't know, looks like maybe 57%. It's based on like some bond futures or something like that, or yield futures, I think. And then those statistics are derived from that. So there's uncertainty. There's definitely uncertainty going into this one. And I don't think it's as big of a deal as it would have been if there was uncertainty going in of like no cut or 25 basis point cut. I think that would be a way bigger deal than 25 versus 50 when it is just our first pivot. Anyways, obviously 50 is bigger than 25 and will likely bring more volatility. But yeah, time will tell. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a little sucker pump, get like the uninformed folks that think that a rate cut is good for the markets, sucker some of them in, maybe even a little all-time high peak above and fail, and then a bargaining. And if not, then that's fine. We'll take it one day at a time. All right, thanks y'all for spending some of your Friday with me. I'm gonna wrap it up there. If you liked the stream, please hit the like button. If you didn't, please avoid hitting the dislike button. You can DM me on Twitter and tell me I suck. Hope everybody has a nice weekend. Don't get too chopped up on Bitcoin when we're in sideways range, but we do have a nice 4-hour 12 EMA short-term guide there. And we'll look to see, do we follow the alts? Do more alts confirm weekly uptrends, or are the ones that have done it kind of anomalies and the odds shift as every name gets its key technical signal? We see it all over the market. We just saw it in the metal space for weekly consolidation on the way down, and now weekly higher lows being set. Things just get knocked off one by one. And I call it follow the leader because it's sure as heck is exactly what it is. So thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it. Hope everybody has a good weekend. Be checking back in Monday or Tuesday. We'll see what we get. And big Fed meeting on Wednesday. And things are about to get juicy. Got the election coming up. Lots of conflicting stuff going on. It's exciting. Take care. See y'all later.